Oh, that was lovely. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kate, and I am given the great opportunity to introduce the speaker for today. He is beloved to this community, Tom Jacobs. I know many of you know him. I don't know if you've had the chance yet to sit across the table from him to truly understand how he is one of the most exquisite humans walking the earth today, in Birkenstocks. And out of Birkenstocks. He and his wife, I just told him to put it down. It was sticking up on the top. The three that are there. So he and his wife, Beth, are who I want to be when I grow up, truly. My son Jack is 16 and a half, and he has grown up with Tom in his life and has sat across the table from Tom many times. And I was thinking, how do I set up this man? How do I explain the depth to which he affects souls? And I reflected back. We were at dinner at a restaurant some months ago, and Tom said to my son, he always asks him challenging questions. He said to Jack, what is your secret sauce? Like, what's your superpower? And Jack thought about it, and then he gave him the answer, and very deep answer. And then Tom said, and what, Jack, do you think is mine? And Jack really thought hard, and he said, you know, Tom, you have this ability to truly see every person. That waiter who was just here feels seen by you. Everyone you spend a moment with feels seen, and I see all the heads nodding. So today, my friends, you are going to be seen, and this man is going to open your heart like you can't believe. Please welcome my dear heart, Tom Jacobs.
End of talk. Well, we can go home now. Thank you. Kate, thank you so much. If you have ever gotten a compliment from this woman, you will be like a boost of energy. And I really think that the quality that she just demonstrated is what we call loving out loud. You might not think that that would help with world peace, but it actually would, because it ripples if you see each person and you acknowledge them verbally, not just in your thoughts. It makes a difference. Thank you so much. Really touched. And the other compliment comes from all of you who are here this morning. You've made a conscious decision to come, and I really appreciate that compliment. And for those of you on Facebook, sitting there in the comfort of your home, hopefully not with a martini this early, I thank you for your listening as well. And Judy, your prayer on diversity and the theme of diversity today is really appropriate to this talk. In fact, when you said, close your eyes if you wish, I heard, close your eyes if you're Jewish. I'm standing back there thinking, well, did I just hear that? I thought I would start this morning, though, based on the theme of diversity, with a rabbinical parable. A lot of times we hear how the Jews say they are the chosen people. But this particular rabbi who teaches mysticism had this story to say, and it shows the diversity. He's talking to his students, and he's telling the story of when the Israelites were going through the Red Sea, how the sea parted, and the Israelites went through the sea, and then when the Egyptians who were chasing them got into the Red Sea, the waters closed down on the Egyptians, and they all drowned. Up in heaven, angels were sounding praise because the Egyptians had drowned. And the Israelites, the chosen people, had made it. But the angels looked at God, and God had a tear coming down the cheeks. The angel approached God and said, God, what's wrong? Your chosen people have just gotten through the Red Sea. And the Egyptians, they've all died. Why aren't you celebrating? God said, my friend, the Egyptians are also my chosen people. Now that immediately blasts open the walls to universality and diversity. And that's part of the theme of this morning that you will hear come out. I know that we are all somewhat heavy-hearted about the actions going on in the world right now. And I would like to just invite you, along with, thinking about the devastation that's occurring, to also notice the aid the humanitarian aid that is coming to any crisis that has ever happened on this planet. It's like Mr. Rogers' mother said, look for the helpers. And CSL's philosophy and teaching is not only to look for the helpers, but to be a helper in whatever way you can, whether it's acknowledging a person or listening to someone or thanking them out loud. It all makes a ripple effect. A time of peace, a time of war, a time to ask what life is for. A time of peace, a time of war, a time to ask what life is for. I grew up in a mixed marriage home. You've got Rita and Lou. Rita is my mother, Lou is my father. Rita comes from an Irish and German background with her parents. Lou comes from Lithuanian and Polish descent. Mom's side of the family was 100% Catholic. Dad's side of the family was 100% Jewish. So this was my introduction to diversity right away as a little boy. Now, my parents spun the story in a very positive way. They said, this is like having a double dose of God. I thought, well, that's cool. I've got not one, but two religions. Honestly, as a little boy, it made me feel very special, even now as a taller little boy. It was like I had a special connection to God because there were two inroads. Now, when I went to Catholic grade school, I was basically raised Catholic, but I had this exposure and some taste of my father's Jewish religion. But in Catholic grade school, I guess the kids found out that Dad was Jewish, and I went from feeling special to starting to feel weird. And I'm going to explain why. You might be interested to know that Sister Donna Cunningham was about 24 years old, and she was my first grade teacher. She's now in her mid-80s. She's still living. And you might be watching this talk, if not now, possibly later on Facebook. She didn't mean anything bad by this. She was just teaching the Catholic religion and the philosophy and the theology at the time, which was what they call Vatican I teachings. And one of the earliest teachings that I heard in this Catholic school was, if you're not Catholic, you're not going to heaven. Oh my God, that upset me. I thought, what's going to happen to Dad? And I went home that night and I was depressed. It did not sound like the mind of God even when I was in first grade. Something was battling in my heart and mind. So we're sitting at the table. My sister Patty and my sister Elizabeth are across the table. My mom's over here and my dad's over here, and I'm not talking. And they all tried to get me to talk. And no, I would not talk. And my dad finally looked at my mother and he said, Rita, what in the hell is wrong with Tommy? And I said, Dad, don't say hell. This happened. This is a true story. And it is funny now. But boy, back then, I got to tell you, it was so upsetting. Another little religion class experience was when Sister Donna was teaching, part of the religious story. And she said the phrase, when the Jews took Jesus to the cross, the whole class turned and looked at me like I did it. And one of my classmates at recess even came over and said, way to go, Jacob, you just killed our Lord. It is funny now, and I am laughing but back then, I got to tell you, I was so devout, and I was so proud of two religions that really, really hurt me. Nobody could understand how you could be both. Nobody understood that. And to me, it was the perfect blend, the perfect marriage. Jesus, the central figure of Christianity, was Jewish. To me, it was the perfect marriage. By the way, speaking of marriage, my mother and father, this is very controversial. A Jew marries a Jew and a Catholic marries a Catholic. And that has dissipated in our day now, but back then it was very, very iffy. So a Catholic priest married my parents first, but not in the church. It had to be in his house. Then later, a Jewish rabbi married my parents. I don't know why I have to say a Jewish rabbi. It sounds redundant. If you say rabbi, he's Jewish. A Methodist rabbi. No. So it was the second marriage, and it was a beautiful mix. But I guess I think my mom was maybe 82 years old. This is years later, and my father had made his transition. And we're sitting in the Bristol with 4 or 5 friends, and one of the gentlemen said to my mom, probably after a martini, "Rita, how is it that you, as a Catholic woman, married a Jewish man? How did that happen? Can you explain that?" She says, "I can explain it." He said, "Well, what's the explanation?" She said, "Well, I fell in love with him." Perfect answer. Love is the bridge. It is the bridge that creates diverse connections. It is the main bridge. You don't even have to pay a toll to go across it. It's the bridge of diversity. And that bridge erases labels, it minimizes categories, and it eliminates borders. And when I'm talking about love, you might say, well, he's just sounding like a hippie from the 60s, all this thing about love. I am a hippie from the 60s, and I'm proud of it. Speaking of erasing borders, borders are an interesting thing. If you look at the Earth from space, in pictures, you don't see any borders. You just see this big hunk of a sphere that's all one big ball of beauty. I know, Byron, when you fly your plane over Johnson County and Wyandotte County, you don't see the borders. They're all connected. Let's take a look at this. Right up here, a few blocks west of here, is State Line Road. Runs north and south. If you ask somebody, not where is State Line Road, but if you ask them to define State Line Road, most people would say, well, it's the road that divides Kansas from Missouri. And they would be 50% correct. What's the other 50%? It's also the line that connects Kansas and Missouri. It unifies Kansas. It is the point of unity. And you might think, Tom, you're just playing with semantics. But words matter, because words reflect consciousness. If you think it's only the line that divides us, there you have it. If you see it as the road that connects us, that's another dimension of thought. Thinking in these realms makes it very important to go there, because you want to see both the border and the bond. The border and the bond. It's one of the reasons why I like CSL, diversity. And I don't just mean religious diversity. I'm talking about economic and political diversity, sexual gender identity diversity, diversity of rich and poor. You have a full head of hair, or you can be bald. Happy or sad, you are welcome here. That's the beauty of this community. That's why, to me, it was a gift to be born in the home of a Jewish father and a Catholic mother. Diversity was right in my face from day one. You've got the Irish and the German and the Lithuanian and the Polish. I am basically a mutt. And I made an acronym out of mutt. I didn't say nut. That's true too, but multifaceted universal thinker. Mutt. Multifaceted universal thinker. My background taught me to color outside the lines, and that it was okay. In fact, it was the way to go. I learned early to find the connection point between two sides and become as much as possible a bridge to look for the common ground. I'm really into oneness. Beth and I, Beth just had eye surgery, so she's at home right now recovering from that eyelid surgery, you know, when they help your eyelid not to be closing your eye. So she sends her love. She's watching on Facebook. Hello, Beth. We wanted to get personalized license plates. She has a little CRV Honda, and I have a CRV Honda. Hers is silver, mine is white. So I was calling into the license plate, bureau to see what personal names had been taken and what's available. And I said, well, is shalom available? She said, oh, no, shalom has been taken. How about peace? Oh, taken long ago. How about shanti? That's peace in Sanskrit. Nope, taken. How about namaste? How about oneness? She says, even oneness has been taken. I said, well, we can spell it different. Maybe we can go one, space, N-E-S-S. She said, well, that's available. Well, voila. That is a picture of my license plate. Oneness. I was parked at J. Alexander's ready to go in not too long ago, and there were a group of people coming out, and one of them saw my license. She says, I love your license plate. And I said, really? She says, I do. I said, well, why is that? She says, I mean, one mess? That's fantastic. Definitely had a martini. That's the third reference to martinis. Can you tell what's on my mind? Oh, my gosh. Oneness. This is the story, though, that happened. I'm very proud to have that on my plate because it's like driving around with a spiritual message. So I'm going north one day on Highway 69, and I exit on 151st Street to go east. There's a little post office down there. I pull in the left lane to turn left, and I'm waiting for oncoming traffic. A car comes right up on my right side in major traffic, and he motions to me to put the window down, and I did. I'm thinking he's going to ask directions. The words that came out of his mouth were this: you idiot, get that Honda off American soil. I am scrambling for a line. What am I going to say? First thing I looked at, well, what's he driving? If it had been a Fiat, it would have been helpful, but it was a Ford. Yeah. I am not coming up with a line. It's like, what's my comeback here? And time is ticking, and he starts driving away. And awkwardly, what comes out of my mouth as he drives away is, I said, I love you. I did not feel love. I was mad. I was sad, confused. I thought, wow, should I follow him and take him out to breakfast and have a dialogue? Is there a landing strip there that he would even listen? And all these things that were statements I was trying to come back on changed when I came up with the following question inside my own mind, not a question to him. The question was, who hurt you? What happened in his life that led him to this project, which, by the way, is going to take him a lot of time? And didn't he see my license plate? What happened to that teaching? Maybe there was dirt on the oneness plate. I don't know. But it really was upsetting. And I'll tell you what, it was a big teaching. Because like Nelson Mandela said when he was released from prison, if I keep a hold of the anger and the bitterness inside of me, even though I'm being released from prison, I'm still in prison. So how do we release from that type of response that doesn't feel good at all? It feels so divisive, not diversity. It feels divisionated. Is that a word? Divisionated. It is now. We have to release ourselves from the anger so that the compassion or at least the interest in understanding that something hurt that person to cause them to be that way. You don't even have to know what it was. But that's the doorway, so you're not imprisoned by the scenario. And you can come up with a creative plan on how to handle it the next time, perhaps. Well, you might ask, what does all this have to do with Hanukkah? In fact, it's very interesting. On the first Sunday of Advent, I think it's great that we talk about Hanukkah. Welcome to my world. Christian, Jewish, and it's gone beyond just Christian and Jewish. I honor all the diversities of religious paths. My dad was not that religious because his mom and dad were very religious. They were Orthodox Jews. And I think my dad had a taste of what they call PR, pressure religion. And so he wasn't that active in the Jewish church. He only went 4 times a year. On the anniversary of his mother's death, the anniversary of his father's death, Rosh Hashanah, and Hanukkah. Now, Atchison, my hometown, only had 4 Jewish families at the time: Hausman, Feldman, Leibowitz, and Jacobs. So there wasn't any temple in Atchison, Kansas. We'd drive about 40 minutes up the road to the temple in St. Joseph, Missouri. And Dad would say to me, he called me Thomas the Shamus. Isn't that funny? Glad my name wasn't Danny. You can take it where you want. Thomas the Shamus, would you like to go to the temple with me for Hanukkah? Dad, I would love to. Let's go. So we'd go to the temple. Beautiful music, beautiful speaking, beautiful ritual. But I wanted to tell you, maybe you don't know how Hanukkah came to be, and this is very interesting. I learned a lot studying this stuff about Hanukkah. Hanukkah started 200 years BCE, before the Common Era, 200 years before Christ. It started by, a war. The Syrian army would not allow the Jewish people in their temples to celebrate their Jewish feasts. They had to hide, and they hid in caves. And this lasted for 3 years until a little private Jewish army came forward called the Maccabees. They were kind of like a Green Beret. And they fought to get their temple back and to get their land back. And they won. When they went back into the temple, the lanterns which they would light to read the Torah, the scriptures, had not been used in 3 years. In fact, there was only one vessel of oil to fill a lamp or a lantern. And that vessel of oil would only last 24 hours. They didn't have any more. But they lit it, and it lasted 8 days. Not 24 hours. That's why they call it the miracle of light. By the way, Christmas is also a feast of light, but it is not proper to call Hanukkah the Jewish Christmas. They're 2 really different themes. So that's why the menorah has 4 on the left and 4 on the right. Those are signifying the 8 days of Hanukkah. The one in the middle I'll explain in a minute. If your cell phone said 2% battery left and it went on for 8 days, that's a similar scenario here. You know, to give it a modern analogy, there's probably a lot of Jewish people right now that are going, "Oy," because this is very sacred stuff. Now, the middle candle is called the Shamash. And you'll see a little slide on the screen there to tell you what the Shamash is. The Shamash is the one who holds the light, who kindles the flame, the provider of light for others, stands to watch and protect the weak flames, and provides a fresh boost if one of them falter. My dad called me Thomas the Shamus. I didn't know why. I thought it was just a rhyme. He was referring to this, the one who carries the flame. And I got to tell you, I didn't know that as a little boy. I did not know that. To me, it was just a rhyme, and he was teaching me something that maybe he thought I would learn later. I don't know. But I learned it, and it made me cry. It really did. Such a significant title. And I think it's so good if all of us can claim the nobility of our character as carriers of light, protectors of the light. That's the golden identity that everyone has, whether you have low self-esteem or high self-esteem, whoever you are, no matter what your track record, that is the identity that we go by. So as I light this flame this morning, we can do so. I'd like to wear my dad's prayer shawl. And when they put on a prayer shawl, it is like being wrapped in the sacred energy of love and light. Being wrapped in love, being wrapped in beauty. Thank you, Lee. being wrapped in sacred energy. With that in mind, we do indeed light these flames. Baruch atah Adonai. Blessed are you, Creator of the universe. Blessed are you for the guidance of light that leads us out of the darkness. Blessed are you for people that act on behalf of the oppressed. Blessed are you for the people that comfort and rekindle the flame of love. Blessed are you for friends that show us the truth when we have forgotten. Blessed are you for giving us freedom from thoughts that imprison us. Blessed are you that nothing can stop or destroy the power of love. Blessed are you for this beautiful community, diverse and delightful. Blessed are you that we are all carriers of light and love. Blessed are you. Blessed Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Baruch atah Adonai. When we move into a space of silence just for a few moments and wrap all the people of the world in your warmth, in your light, in your protection as we enter into a space of quiet. I'd like to invite you to join me in an affirmation which we'll put on the wall if it's readable. I'd like you to share that with me so you can hear the power of your own voice speaking these words. Peace amidst chaos. A time of peace, a time of war, a time to ask what life is for. Acts that heal and acts that wound. Let's turn this all around real soon. You can be the kindest person, or you can be so very rude. You can be a saint in action, or display a rotten mood. How you think is how you'll be. Try it out and you will see. Set your thoughts in good directions. That's what makes the best connections. We are here to live as one, a noble work that's never done. Keep your vision, use your strength, no matter how hard or long the length. Every kindness creates a world where everyone is seen and heard. Let's create this world today so love and kindness rule the day. And once again, the rabbi asked the students, what is the precise moment when nighttime is over and the day has started? One student says, Rabbi, when there's enough light in the sky that we can tell the difference between a squirrel and a rabbit. The rabbi said, no. Another student said, well, Rabbi, the night is over when there's enough light in the sky to tell the difference between a robin and a sparrow. The rabbi said, no. And they were fatigued at coming up with answers that were not working. Tell us, Rabbi, when is the precise moment when the nighttime is over and the day has officially begun? When you can look into the eye of any human being and see them as part of your family, as your brother or your sister, to see them as part of you and you as part of them. I assure you, that is when the nighttime is over and the new day has begun. Namaste.